play Metaphor. I have heard Metaphor is really fucking good. Haven't people been giving it like 90s? Let me see. Metaphor Metacritic. I don't really care about the reviewer scores. Okay, we don't actually have user scores. Yeah, it's got like a 94. Everything I've heard about the demo has been, this game is fucking incredible. But it has a couple of, it's a fucking modern PC game. It's a modern fucking modern game. It has performance issues. So yeah, every single fucking modern game has performance issues right now. It doesn't matter what it releases on, whether it's PC or console. It just runs a bit questionably. Where only critic scores, can we trust it? Everything I've heard, there might not be, those got patched. Oh, if it runs well now, that's good. Everything I've heard from players has been perfect as well. I have not heard a single bad thing about Metaphor so far. I wonder if there's a video on the demo. Metaphor demo. We have a Game Ranks video. You know what? Let's watch the Game Ranks video. I like Game Ranks. Game Ranks is one of the few game reviewer platforms that I actually enjoy. The combat reminds me of Digital Devil Saga. So it's not Concord Dustborn Nightmare. No, it's from everything I've heard, it's fantasy Persona. So if you don't like Persona, you're gonna not like this. But yeah, that's let's see it.
Hey, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. That show will give you some straight up gameplay. And
it does look visually really cool though.
Our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we're talking about Metaphor, ReFantazio.
Bold. Your name is Bold.
This game is incredibly significant.
This is an Atlas game? Yes, this is an Atlas game. This is RPG Persona. Like more RPG Persona. You like a job system as well.
Significant because it's from publisher Atlas and a development studio made from some of the folks behind Persona. Most notably, director Katsura Hashino.
I could never tell looking at this game that it's Persona.
Now, after Persona 5, they set out to create a new world, a new universe, like a totally different thing, and that is this game, Metaphor.
I don't know if I'm going to stream this, but I'm definitely going to play it. I got too many games to stream, but I really do want to play this.
Short, it's like, what if the people behind Persona put their own spin on a fantasy world with knights, mages, kings, dragons, fairies? But of course, it does get a lot more complicated than that.
Also,
it's
an Atlas game, so it's probably going to be like 100 hours long. Cat Mummy. We should have started that if Japanese games not likely to have the same issues. Well, yeah.
It's very good. It's great. For fans of these types of JRPGs, you know, Persona lovers, you're in good company here. But I also think it's a good jumping on point for newcomers because it's its own new universe and story, but the team also did not lose sight of what they're good at or make any compromises doing a new thing. So consider this first impressions. And so, you know, I've been playing a...
That looked really cool.
So consider this first impressions. And so...
That, okay. Better than Persona. That's a fucking a really high bar, if it actually is.
You know, I've been playing a review copy, and this footage was captured on
Hummer.
PS.
It's literally the same abilities you have from Persona as well.
5, and it's spoiler-free. A lot of the gameplay you see here will be from what was the portion that was the demo that was made publicly available, and then a little past that, just to not spoil too much. Now, Metaphor, straight up, is a solid compelling and lengthy JRPG, but it's also a thought-provoking one. But where do I start with the story? There's a lot. So you start as a character you name who is on a quest to save a prince who has been cursed. The king has been killed, and this kingdom is basically in peril.
Actually, the only bad thing I've heard about this is apparently the localization is, you know, standard modern localization. Just learn Japanese and you don't have to deal with the localization. But yeah, that's the only problem I've heard about it, where like the little fairy character here, they've sort of like completely changed her personality in the localization. Just learn Japanese.
As various figures fight for the throne. You set out to assassinate who you think killed the king, but it quickly gets more complicated as it's revealed that the king had magic in place to help decide the next ruler, and also there's like a coming threat of monsters. This is a fantasy world where they tackle a lot of different socio-political elements. The world is inhabited by
Persona,
a bunch
yes.
of different clans or races. These are people with horns, different colored eyes, tails, elf ears, you name it. And there's a ton of variety, but nobody is just like a regular old-fashioned human. The citizens of this world are pretty divided, so some groups tolerate others more or less. Some shopkeepers forbid a certain type, stuff like that. Everybody has their own...
Only Japan has the balls to just make a game where everybody's racist. This is a game where everybody is waka. To be fair, I've seen some of the better translations and they're boring as fuck. Localization gave them an actual personality. Yes, sometimes. But I would rather deal with like a proper translation.
reasons and beliefs and stuff.
Again,
there are
just learn Japanese.
also clear class distinctions, the rich and extreme poverty. There is clearly a lot of world building, specifically with telling a story and having something to say in mind. It's a world surrounded by magic too, in both resources and just in the mystery.
Right, it has
of
this
all.
real-time
Anyone
combat
can
system as well,
sort of
doesn't it?
Wield magic, but there are always surprises and fantastical weird things still happening. All this stuff isn't just set dressing or world building or big picture stuff. A lot of it comes into the main story and gameplay elements.
Wait, considering that this isn't Persona, is there going to be a giant dick? If you're not aware of what I'm talking about, let me show you what I mean. Where's the best version of him? Yeah, SMT2 works. This is the persona called Mara. It's a cock.
So
Actually, on that note, there is a version of of one of the games released where they had a censored version of it, and this is what it looked like. I do like the censoring. The censoring is yeah.
once you get past the prologue, that's about 4 or 5 hours. That's when the main flow really
4 or 5 hour prologue. Fuck. Yep, this is definitely going to be a 100-hour JRPG.
shows up. What might feel familiar to Persona fans is the managing of time of day and a calendar, and the consequence of choice, like how you spend your time. Say you have a main quest dungeon that you need to complete in the next 5 days. Do you spend that time talking to citizens, getting side quests, and getting stronger? Do you just jump ahead, head first into that activity? You know, each thing you do here basically costs you most of a day. So you need to choose wisely on how to spend your time and where you want to grow your party and pursue other things. And there is a lot. So, of course, other than exploring and talking to people and doing things in town, you're battling. That's a big thing here. Battles
well, it's an RPG,
are turn-based and have a lot of factors. You can have the standard actions with your party members, like attack, guard for a turn, skip a turn, maybe use an item. Positioning is one thing, so have characters in the front row of battle or hang back to the back row if maybe they're ranged and hopefully avoid some damage. But the big hook is the archetypes. Your character unlocks the ability to harness these things, these archetypes, essentially ancient powers of heroic characters to use in battle. So transform into a brave knight upon a steel steed to maybe draw aggro and defend your party. Turn into a mage to specialize in casting range spells. Turn into a warrior for crowd damage or big...
So it's just the Persona system, just with a new name.
Heavy slashes. Along with that, do these synergy or connected attacks when you have two of a similar family in your party. You unlock quite a bunch of these, and they all serve unique purposes and can be leveled up and grown. You can spend resources to allow other party members to use them, and you can even tweak some of them and teach them new attacks. The game constantly encourages you to experiment and switch them up. Enemies have different resistances and even react differently to seeing different ones, so it's important to head into battles really prepared. Essentially, this is their own spin on a job system. Something we've seen implemented in other JRPGs to great effect, but here it just feels distinctly like their own thing because of just how cool it's tied to the story. Also, the archetypes, like their design, they just look awesome. They all look really badass, and discovering a new one, getting a new one, was always really cool for me so far. You're encouraged to seek out new allies in order to unlock these things, like find a friend, learn about their defining trait, and you
the Persona system plus positioning. Persona doesn't have a front... Yeah.
Unlock a fun new archetype to battle with. It is cool. These archetypes also affect what your characters are equipped with when not transformed or navigating areas. So if you're a warrior archetype, your character will wield a heavy sword in battle, but also in environments between those fights. So here you can dodge or hack and slash through lower level mob enemies without
I did see in like the early trailers that you could do like combat in the overworld
sword in battle,
to some
but
extent.
also in environments between those fights. So here you can dodge or hack and slash through lower level mob enemies without...
I think that like overworld combat style is actually really cool.
Triggering a full battle sequence, or get the drop and get a few hits on an enemy before then triggering into that main battle where you jump in with an advantage first. The fights are really good during the larger scale battles. Some monster designs are just so fantastically weird. Part of the reason I wanted to progress was not just the story, but to also see some of the weird stuff these developers and artists cooked up. And briefly, if we're talking about style and creativity and stuff like that, it's obviously really on display here. If you've played a Persona...
So this is Persona 6? Basically. Persona 6 will come out eventually, probably, but this is taking the place of Persona 6. Yeah. For now, at least.
I mean, my experience with Persona is really only 5, but I was in love with it just because of that style, that weirdness, that creativity. That isn't just like parts of the game, but also down to the menus, the music choices, little things like that. That is all evident here. It smacks you in the face right away, and I was really happy about that. There's a lot going on screen at once. The visual style doesn't always look the greatest. On PC, there are reports of some bad screen tearing issues, but some flaws aside, like visually, it is a very busy game, but you get used to it. I know on screen here, you're probably like, well, this is a lot, but you get used to it. My only real complaint is the character Gallica, who... Yeah,
P5... It's like fairly, because you are in like a regular Japanese city, it's fairly simple, the environments. You know, obviously there is the dungeon area that I'm forgetting the name of, but even that, like the design is fairly simple there.
Kind of constantly chirping at you. You're always seeing her dialogue box. If you're down in battle, she's constantly screaming about you being down. It's kind of like the modern "Hey, listen," like Navi from Ocarina of Time. She totally reminds me of that. I wish there was a way to turn her down a little bit. But I digress. There's still more stuff to get into. So
I'm sure there'll be mods.
You're managing these archetypes, like I said, but you're also leveling up your individual party members and stats. Alongside that, you're also trying...
No issue, the demo, the final game is de novo, so we'll see. Usually de novo games are fine.
trying to get and equip good, proper equipment for each party
Usually.
member. So there's plenty to chew through and really strategize with here. There's so much stuff to manage. Popularity ranking and royal virtues, which I've been digging. So the royal virtues trees start with everything at the bottom, and certain actions and activities you do to progress through days increases these. Tolerance, wisdom, creativity are some of these skills to level up, and it's all in pursuit of getting the followers or the people on your side. So level up these through
you died.
Helping townsfolk, listening, observing, kind of doing research, maybe cooking or working somewhere. Just
I don't think you should have been in combat here.
Engaging in side activities
Mementos,
are some of the ways
yeah.
to increase these. As an example of like why you should
Fucking
care about
run.
this stuff and increasing it is like early on a character just didn't take my character seriously.
Oh, there's a dedicated heal all button. You don't have to go into a menu to it this time. That is nice to have. I don't think P5 had that either. I think you had to go into a menu and then like go to a persona that had a heal and then heal like that. I'm really fucking sick about the strong to nouveau in every new game. I've had multiple times when I can't play P3R because I didn't have that is stupid.
And thought I was just kind of a dumb kid and didn't.
Oh, do you know what's going to help with that? There is a chance that Steam is going to get banned in Russia. So that means that there is going to be a lot of people in Russia who have a tech background who are very interested in cracking de nouveau games. So, yeah. That problem might not be as big of a deal for that much longer. The only game I played with front-back positioning was Xenosaga. How many Megami Tensei games have you played? Not a ton of them. I have played most of the way through SMT3.
Want to give me a side quest. So I worked on my wisdom royal virtue and ranked it up and went back and was able to say the right things, prove my wisdom, and then get access to the quest. So it can be satisfying, but also rewarding to slowly build these virtues, at least so far, in my opinion. My only real complaint so far is that, like, man, the prologue was kind of rough, I guess, compared to the rest that I've seen. Yes, learning about the world, the onboarding, all that is interesting, but the actual questing and locations and encounters and stuff just felt like early hour JRPG boring.
To be fair, a lot of the early stuff in P5 is pretty rough as well. Like, the story is really nice in P5, but you don't really have access to much in the combat early on. So, it's no different there. In P3, SMT3 is very similar as well. I've not played SMT5, so I can't really comment on that, but I would not be surprised if it's sort of the same there.
Stuff like just a stretched out long intro sequence. The first few hours, maybe the first 4 or 5, just felt kind of trivial and dull and overly tutorialized. It happens in a lot of RPGs. I get it. It's the nature of the beast to really teach you so many elements and so many things. But like basically, if you've played the demo that's available, in my opinion, that is all a very slow start. After that, I found it to get much more exciting. So if you played the demo and you already like that, then I guess this is good news because your enjoyment will only go up from there. What I really
Hi from Greyg. Oh, hey, how's it going? You're watching on... I don't think we've ever actually used that app before.
like are the characters, though. Each has a strong, distinct personality, and they stand out. Even if not everyone is as over the top as something like in Persona, they still all feel unique and with multiple layers, which is good because you're going to be spending so much time with them. It's clear, basically right from the jump, that the game, really the characters, they got heart. Personality-wise, but also metaphorically and with stuff going on in the story. You'll see what I mean. And again, I don't have time to go into every single system here, but
yeah, I'd be very surprised if they felt the same way as Persona. It's obviously a very different... It's a very different environment, a very different vibe the game's going for.
With the heart thing, I think what I mean is that there are plenty of other games like this with multiple hub cities, towns, turn-based battles, archetype-style creatures, gallant knights, political intrigue, medieval stuff, airships. A lot of this stuff has been handled in other games and even other JRPG.
It's called Final Fantasy.
But here, it still just manages to feel different. I can't quite put my finger on it, but like if you get your hands on the game, you'll get what I mean. But along with this, I gotta give the creators here props for, once again, tackling topics you don't often see in games, much less handled in such interesting ways. The Persona games, for all their color and flair, we're not afraid to get deep, you know, dive into some taboo or frankly dark.
Well, yeah, P3, your entire ability system is around shooting yourself in the head.
Topics, and Metaphor is no different, and happily wades into like big picture conversations of politics, religion, and utopian ideals. It also has really interesting insights on what fiction is, what it does, how it affects us, without me really spoiling anything. So for me, it's already apparent that like this is a solid JRPG, yes, but also a thinking man's game story, which is very cool. But of course, it does get crazy in a good way, and I just think there's a lot of entertainment value here if you're looking for something kind of deep, something kind of complex.
Are you gonna fight God at some point?
Grinding through battles. This is something I definitely recommend to Persona fans. Yes, if you like the flavor, if you like the feeling, if you like the vibes of those games, but you're curious to see how it's applied to something different, that is like half the fun here. Yeah, but I'd say again, if you're new, also, it's just a good story. It's a little overwhelming at first. There's a lot, and it throws a lot at you at the less exciting opening hours, but once it opens up and once you're really acclimatized with the world, the battling, everything, there's something really
that looked cool.
But of course, this is a before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours down.
You fight God in SMT4 Apocalypse.
Do you have experience with any Persona games? I'd love to know what you think, but also if you played the demo here or you're looking forward to jumping into the game, let's talk about Metaphor. Anything at all, hit us up. If you like this video and maybe this helps you out, first impressions, seeing the gameplay on screen here, if it helped educate you at all, inform you at all, clicking the like button helps us out. We'd really appreciate that. But if you're new, consider subscribing because we put out videos every single day, man. But either way, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
We can do this. My thanks.
I will not be playing with the English dub.
On ultimate knighthood with blade in hand. Is that all? In the name of justice.
Well, I was gonna buy the game anyway. But it definitely fits the vibe that I assumed it was going for. I've only heard, like, besides some of the issues with the localization and the performance issues which are apparently dealt with, I've only heard good things about this game. So, I'm definitely going to check it out. For sure. There's no doubt about that. Don't worry about that.